Hey everybody, it's Carpo here. How you doing? Hopefully well. It's a sunny day here in Portland. It's cold out there, but it's sunny. Spring is coming. And I was just doing a little bit of research this morning, as always, on various topics, and I once again came across some astrology information, which kind of reinforced my idea of making this video, which I had already planned on because one of my subscribers asked me to. They said, I'm wondering, what do you think of astrology? And I told them I would make a video on it. So I did briefly touch on it in a previous one, but, I'm not the kind of guy who wants to sit here and just tear ideas apart and say, this is wrong, this is wrong. There are so many things that I hear on a daily basis or read where I just bite my tongue and say, I'd love to just make a video and talk about that subject and just say this is all bullshit. But then I realize that it may come across as combative or pointless attacking. So in other words, there are a lot of folks who will expose one thing or another, but they're doing it for the reason of laughing at other people rather than a reason behind it of wanting others to do better. And that's the reason why I expose fraud gurus and people who are, asking you to give them money, basically. The issue of astrology is no different, and I would love to believe that astrology is real. But one factor that came up completely changed the way I think about this, and I'll get to that in a minute. In a 2014 poll, they said that one half of millennials, for lack of a better term, I hate using that term, but millennial-aged people, one half believe that astrology is actually a science. And I found that a really interesting statistic. Do I know how accurate that is? No. But it's interesting how many people I've talked to who do believe that astrology is absolutely real. Now, what happened was, since astrology and the, well, right here I have a book. It's called Astrology. Do-it-yourself astrology, a user-friendly guide to your personality. And it's a thick book, and you open it up, it's got everything. The sun in Pisces, the sun in every sign, and every planet, and every Jupiter in Libra, Mars in Virgo. It goes on. And so you take your, the information, time you were born, and now they've kind of expanded it, and a lot of people say, well, it depends on which way the Earth was facing, was it day or night, all these things play a role. And so I was fascinated with that, since I was younger. In fact, when I was 15 years old, one of the first tattoos I did, and I have it on my leg, I was going to show it, but it's pointless, it's my star sign, which is interesting because if I were to ask anybody out there, what sign do you think I am? Without cheating, pause the video and think about it. I am actually a Sagittarius. I've been asked this so many times, but even the people who are really into astrology, they say, oh, I'd love to do your charts or, give you information about your sign. And I say, I don't know, if you can't guess what sign I am, it's kind of an interesting thing. You would think that the personalities would be pretty obvious, especially with the Sagittarius. But I do reflect a lot of those characteristics. And that's why when I was younger and I read it, I thought, this is so fascinating. I can't believe I am this kind of person. I am this kind of person. But I also understand confirmation bias. So since the star signs were created, it's funny because even way back in history, a few thousand years ago, they weren't utilized the same way they are today. And I found out it wasn't even until the late 1800s and somebody from the Theosophical Society, I believe, they kind of morphed it into this modern idea of your horoscopes and your and relating it to money and wealth, and that those are always the things that they point out. It's always about money, love, and career. And those things didn't even come into play until like a century ago. Before, it was about how the person related to the earth or the earth related to the stars. But it was an incomplete understanding. It wasn't a science. It wasn't hard evidence. I went looking for hard evidence of astrology and how it was passed down. And so this is what I came across was one of the issues is that whatever signs we think we are, in the past few thousand years, the Earth has shifted during what we call the procession. procession of the equinoxes is a 72,000-year cycle. So in that time, we've shifted a full 10 degrees. So whatever sign you, or 10 degrees to the west, or it's we've shifted 10 degrees west or something to the point where the constellations basically today are not in the same place as they were back then. What this means is that all the star signs, if true, have shifted back one whole sign. If you look it up, you'll find info. It wasn't until like 2016 when this started becoming popularized, but the idea was always there. I mean, there's no... we know about the procession, so it's always been there. It's just a matter of a human going, wait a minute, the constellations aren't in the same place as they were. So when I'm born November 25th, in the year I was born, the constellations are not in the same place they were November 25th a few thousand years ago. So the question becomes, are we completely different signs than we thought we were? And there's a whole line of thinking that says, oh, everybody's just changing their sign now. There's another way. Some people believe that there's actually a 13th sign. It's called Ophiuchus. I believe that's how it's pronounced. It's Ophiuchus. And that would be the 13th sign, which is where Sagittarius, some Sagittarians would be. And it just screws the whole thing up. And a lot of people totally ignore it. But that's November 29th to December 17th. But here's the most interesting part. With this 13th part of the zodiac, it shifts me from Sagittarius into Scorpio. But interestingly enough, Scorpio in that sign, if you follow that particular chart, only goes from November 22nd to November 29th. So I am like dead center directly in the middle on November 25th. And I thought about that for a minute. I thought, so if I had spent my life believing in the 13 signs, I would have believed I was a Scorpio this whole time. And so I'd have a different tattoo on my leg instead of an arrow representing the Sagittarius. You know, it's interesting how much it even influenced me, because I enjoyed shooting bows and arrows, and I thought, well, I am the archer. So I, spent more time doing it, because I thought, oh, it's just in my star sign. You know, it's kind of like once you've lived it, then you have room to talk about it. I'm not here exposing it as a fraud and saying nobody should believe in anything astrological, but rather to think about it critically and don't spend money on your fortune telling or, people giving you guidance through their idea, some illusion that they can tell you how to make money and a better career. One of the issues I have with astrology is the fact that they tell you that you're incompatible with certain other star signs, for example. And that right away is instantly, if people are going to believe that, if somebody's going to turn away a relationship because they say, oh my God, our signs just aren't compatible, I would imagine that's a very small amount of people who would do that. But just the idea of losing a relationship because of some, ancient, outdated, astrological crap. But people do. One of the other issues I have is that it's always about money, love, and career. It's not about, true growth. It's about telling people what they want to hear and giving them quick fixes. Horoscopes are total garbage. And not just the ones in the newspapers, but the ones where you have somebody do all your charts. Are they any better? I don't know. And I would love to be proven wrong, believe me, because it's kind of like, I think of myself as the Fox Mulder in this issue. I've got the poster on the wall, I want to believe, I really do, but I'm not sure, and I need the evidence before I can believe something like that. And so far, with all these, the procession of the equinoxes just threw a monkey wrench in the whole thing. Everybody born today is in a different star sign. So this leads me to think maybe we could go by the seasons. Maybe the seasons are more important. Maybe certain times of year that you're born do have an issue on you, but maybe not. And I'm thinking that it's more of a correlation than causation. And we find what we're looking for. We're always seeking our confirmation bias to say, this fits what I want to believe. So, a couple of the final issues I have with this and why I'm mentioning it is a lot of people, they may use their star sign to justify bad habits or attitudes. If it says oh, well, you're just stubborn because you're a Scorpio, and you're willing to believe that, then you may spend your whole life stubborn, thinking that's just my lot in life, my fate. The thing is, we're changing people. It's the same reason I never go to a psychic, even if it was real, and get my future read, because You know, if a psychic does predict a future correctly, perhaps you manifested that future because you really believed it was going to happen. I love the unknown. I don't want to know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's the same reason I guess I would never regress myself to try to find a past life. You know, it's about this life, you know. And I understand that we want to believe that the stars have given us, imbued us with a certain personality, and I still do lean towards there being some ancient truth to it that we just don't today remember or understand. Perhaps it wasn't handed down properly. I mean, our ancestors were very wise. They had some amazing maps of the stars, and they were very adamant about researching these things for thousands of years, and we have to give them credit for that. But just because something is old doesn't mean that it's true. That's the argument, the fallacy of arguing from antiquity, I believe. And I find that one is used a lot. So, you don't want to know about your life path and what your career holds, you know. It's more about manifesting these things, in my opinion. So, some truth, and there will always be some truth that is found within these things, doesn't mean that the whole is truth. So, I guess I will end it there. If anybody has anything to add to this, I would be more than glad to hear it. I mean, I know I've talked to a few of my subscribers who have offered to do charts, or people who believe in these things, and I'm not sitting here saying, ha ha, look at you, you're wrong. I'm saying, I would like to believe that too, but I'm finding that it seems, even if it were true, you know, we want to become who we are through our own methods and means. And I feel like reading a description of who we're supposed to be might just obscure that. But even if it is true, whatever star sign you think you are, if you're going by the traditional constellation, you know, and how we relate to the stars themselves, then you're probably not the sign you thought you were. So look into that. At any rate, it's an interesting topic, and I wish you all well. Have a good day, and as usual, leave a comment, hit the subscribe button. Thanks to all my peeps, my Patreon supporters, family and friends, and thanks to the universe for making me exist, and for humans for all the information that's been passed down for so long that is now consolidated into a very difficult to digest form called the internet, but we're getting through it. Talk to y'all later. Peace.